World War II, the deadliest war in human history. It lasted 6 years, spanned multiple continents, and claimed the lives of over 70 million people. Nations were torn apart, cities reduced to rubble, entire populations displaced. But how did it all begin? Why did the world plunge into another devastating war just 2 decades after World War I? This is the complete story of World War II, from its origins to its lasting impact on the world. The Seeds of War, 1914 to 1938. To understand World War II, we must first look back to World War I, 1914 to 1918, a war that left 17 million dead and much of Europe in ruins. After 4 years of brutal trench warfare, the war ended with the Treaty of Versailles, 1919. Germany was forced to accept full responsibility for the war, pay massive reparations, give up territories, limit its military to 100,000 troops. This humiliation fueled resentment among the German people. Meanwhile, Italy and Japan, both on the winning side, felt they were not rewarded enough, leading to future conflicts. The 1920s and 1930s saw economic turmoil. The stock market crash of 1929 triggered the Great Depression, sending economies worldwide into collapse. Poverty and unemployment created fertile ground for radical ideologies. The rise of dictators, 1922 to 1939. In this climate of desperation, new leaders emerged. Benito Mussolini in Italy, 1922. Joseph Stalin in the Soviet Union, 1924. Adolf Hitler in Germany, 1933. Emperor Hirohito and Prime Minister Hideki Tojo in Japan. These authoritarian leaders promised glory, expansion, and economic recovery, but at the cost of democracy and human rights. The rise of Nazi Germany. Hitler, leader of the Nazi Party, rose to power in 1933. His goals were clear: overturn the Treaty of Versailles, expand German territory, Lebensraum, rebuild Germany's military, eliminate those he saw as enemies, especially Jews. By 1938, Germany had annexed Austria and the Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia. The world watched in fear, but Britain and France pursued a policy of appeasement, hoping to avoid another war. War begins, 1939 to 1940. On September 1st, 1939, Hitler's forces invaded Poland. Using blitzkrieg, lightning war, a fast-moving military strategy combining air power, tanks, and infantry. 2 days later, Britain and France declared war on Germany. World War II had begun. The fall of Poland and the Soviet invasion unknown to many, Hitler had secretly made a pact with Stalin, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, agreeing to divide Poland. By October 1939, Poland had fallen, and the world braced for the worst. The Axis conquest, 1940 to 1941. After Poland's fall, Hitler turned west. In April 1940, Germany invaded Denmark and Norway. Then, in May, Hitler launched a massive offensive through Belgium, the Netherlands, and France. June 1940, France fell in just 6 weeks. Britain stood alone. The Battle of Britain, footage of dogfights in the sky and Churchill speaking. Hitler planned an invasion of Britain, Operation Sea Lion, but first he had to destroy the Royal Air Force, RAF. The Battle of Britain, July-October 1940, saw British pilots fight back fiercely, shooting down hundreds of German planes. Hitler was forced to cancel his invasion plans. The Eastern Front and Pearl Harbor, 1941. On June 22, 1941, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the largest land invasion in history, sending 3 million German soldiers into the Soviet Union. The Nazis reached Moscow and Leningrad, but the brutal Russian winter froze their advance. The attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, crippling the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The next day, the U.S. entered the war. Scene 6. Turning points, 1942 to 194. By 1942, the tide began to turn. The Battle of Midway, June 1942, the U.S. dealt Japan a crushing naval defeat. The Battle of Stalingrad, August 1942 to February 1943, the Soviets encircled and destroyed the German 6th Army. North Africa. The Allies pushed back Axis forces, forcing Germany out of Africa. D-Day and the fall of Germany, 1944 to 1945. On June 6, 1944, D-Day. 156,000 Allied troops stormed the beaches of Normandy, France, the beginning of Germany's end. By April 1945, Hitler committed suicide. On May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered. Victory in Europe Day, V-Day. The end of the Pacific War, 1945. The war in the Pacific continued until the US dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. On September 2, 1945, Japan surrendered, ending World War II. Aftermath and legacy. World War II left Europe in ruins and led to the Cold War. The United Nations was created to prevent future wars. The war changed the world forever. Lest we forget,